Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Happy Thanksgiving to all. Happy holidays to all. Sorry for the lack of videos with work and the holiday week. It's been a hectic week for me. So, we're going to start again on Wednesday, hopefully. Right after the day after maintenance. And we have a lot to talk about with this maintenance, including our November release nerfs. And we have some big ones here to talk about. And so they go through, I'll link this in the description below. They go through all of the win rates, usage rates, and we'll just start at the top with the cards that are being changed. First we have Dimension Shift will cost 20 instead of 18. Sybil of the Waterworm will lose 1 attack, 1 defense. Our little Soul Squasher will have its defense lowered by 1. Karabos, attack and defense lowered by 1 as well. Staircase to Paradise will cost 2 instead of 1. If you look at the win rates, highest win rate is Aggro Blood, PDK Dragon, and Mid-Range Shadow. Par for the course. Aggro Blood is very, as it says, a very aggressive Bloodcraft deck, and you see a lot of it on ladder. Even with the nerf to PDK Dragon is still very good, and I guess that's why they finally decided to pull the trigger on that Sybil nerf that they were waiting forever on. Kind of like Ektar, they just waited an obscenely long time to even touch it. There's some other cards that I'll talk about that weren't maybe addressed, but we'll get there in a second. The top 3 decks that have the highest usage rate were, go figure, Dimension Shift Rune, Aggro Blood, and Ramp Dragon. I don't know how accurate, is that PDK Ramp or, they all kind of mix together sometimes. I think the most popular form of Ramp Dragon that's not PDK centric is Queen of the Dread Sea right now. I see that a decent amount. If it's not PDK, that's usually what it is. Except one day I played a Discard Dragon, and you can't do nothing but just clap at that. So let's go through each card. Dimension Shift changed from 18 to 20 costs. It spell boosts down. So obviously, that maybe will delay it a turn at best. And really, this is all a moot point if you're playing the rotated format in a little over a month. Because Dimension Shift won't be a card that will be used. For Unlimited, I think it's good that they do something to this card, because realistically it's probably all that Unlimited is going to be filled with is Dimension Shift Rune, and it would make it unplayable. People wouldn't play it. There's no reason to rank up in that. So I think they need to address something like this. If you're playing rotated format, then enjoy your month without, completely busted D-Ship. And it's not completely busted because the win rate, and they talk about that as well. The win rate for Dimension Shift is... It's in here, so I think it was 48. Yeah, here it is. 48.4%. Which is lower than, 50%. Obviously, it's lower than the top 3, which are Aggro Blood at 55.6, PDK 54.4, mid-range 53.3. But when a card like D-Shift shifts the meta by itself, you can't play control decks in this meta. You lose to this deck. There shouldn't be... there should be bad matchups, but it shouldn't be you shouldn't auto-concede to any deck. You should have a chance no matter what deck it is, even if it's a bad matchup, that you might lose, over 50% of the time. But when there's certain decks that can't be played, they're pushing these decks out by using one card. It's something that should be addressed, and they did address it. And, you know, like I said, it might delay it a turn, or at best a turn. Which, I don't know if that'll bring control to the forefront at all. Won't do too much, I don't think. But it is something for this last month of Dimension Shift that we have to deal with. Then we have the 3 followers that were touched. We had Sybil. I always said from the beginning that Sybil was overstated for what it does on its effect. It heals, it ramps, and it was a busted stat line. Like, you always, so you play Sybil, you always evolve it. So it's a 6/7. It rolls over anything on turn 5 or 6, and then it heals you in most cases. There's some cases where you're not at overflow, so it won't heal you. In most cases, it's going to give you that heal. And the reason Dragon was so powerful is because a bunch of effects came out at the same time, and it seemed like it just went straight up to the forefront, and Sybil was the cause. Because it was like Draconic Fervor in a body with a busted stat line. It didn't draw you cards, but, you know. It was a card that people have been clamoring for to get changed in some way. Now that it will only evolve into a 5/6, I think that's good. It won't be able to roll over everything on evolve on turn 5 or 4, or not 4, 5 or 6. So it'll be interesting to see just how effective 1 attack, 1 defense will be on that huge swing turn, especially when that huge swing turn would leave a big fat body that healed you. So then we have Soul Squasher. This one I don't really understand too much. So instead of a 2/2, it's a 2/1. But, so it's easier to pick off. But, like, what does it really do? Like, if you play it as, like, an aggro tool, it's easily picked off, I guess. But, like, I don't know, is this supposed to, you know, because mid-range Shadow was the third highest win rate. What does Soul Squasher losing 1 defense do? I don't know. It has a powerful effect. It has one of the most powerful effects for a 2-drop in the game. But I'm not sure if this was the right card to touch. If I was gonna touch, like, change any card, the first card I would look at would be Immortal Thane. That card, like Sybil, has so much value, and it's in a gold card. It's not even in a legendary, it's a gold card. So the fact that it has 3 bodies, then when the 1 body is destroyed, you get another body that has Ward and Bane, because you're gonna have 4 shadows for it. It was just that card not being touched to me, and, like, I guess you can't nerf every Shadow 7-drop, but it's a very oppressive card that came out in a time where they didn't care and just printed oppressive card after another. So, if I were gonna change something, I would do something to Immortal Thane, because that card, like old Ektar, is just very oppressive. I don't know what this Soul Squasher nerf does. If someone could maybe tell me what they're thinking of. I think they try to explain. Maybe they don't. I don't see it here. They don't really explain why they touch Soul Squasher. I don't get that one. It's weird. So then we move on to Karabos, Wicked Fairy, who loses attack and defense -1. I honestly thought Karabos was a fairly balanced card. Does it have a high stat line? It played on 6, so it's a 6/6 on 6 with a really good effect. But usually when Aggro Blood plays Karabos, the huge drawback obviously is that you don't get any more play points. You do draw a card and you do 1 damage each turn. But usually at that time you're out of evolves, so you're left with a 6-3 or 8-3. I mean, that's gonna get picked off by something. Karabos is like the final tool to finish the aggro curve, but it never felt like it. Oppressive is the word that I'm using today. It never felt oppressive to me. Maybe I don't play enough against aggro blood, but so it becomes a 7-7 instead of an 8-8. I don't know. It still has the same effect, so it's still a really good card. I don't see any reason to complain about this or defend this nerf. It's just it was a balanced card to me because of the drawback it had. Like, that's a huge drawback for any game like this where you don't gain play points anymore. So, I don't know. Those last 2 nerfs are kind of, the first one's like, I don't know why, and then the second one's like, alright, whatever. So, then the final nerf we have, or change, is to a little card called Staircase to Paradise, which was played in literally every aggro deck. Literally every deck plays this card almost, it seems. Drop it on 1, and on turn 4 you usually have a handful of cards. It made Atami Shadow very oppressive as well, and changing its cost from 1 to 2 will help, but I don't know if it will downright change. It'll slow down Atami for sure. I don't know. I just think the effect of putting 3 cards, even if they're random cards, from your deck into your hand is a powerful tool. And even if you just wait and enhance it on turn 5. So turn 5, draw 3 cards. I mean, you do lose a lot of tempo for doing that on 5, so the enhance is no problem. I don't have a problem with the enhance, but to put 3 cards from your deck into your hand in any card game is ridiculously strong. And I've always said this, is that card draw, if you give one class too much of it, they seem oppressive. And Shadow, like I've said before, has a lot of card draw. But then they printed a card that, hey, let's give every class infinite card draw. And it's like, that doesn't solve any problems. That makes the problem worse. And I get they want, to maybe not have games go to, let's just top deck cards forever. But it's like, a card like this is, I never liked Staircase to Paradise. So changing it was needed, in my opinion. Changing it from 1 to 2 will help. We'll have to see how much slower it is. The reason it was so powerful, even after the card draw effect, is the fact that you can play it on 1. You play it on curve, and it's ridiculously strong because it's an unanswerable card that you can play on turn 1, which is very, very strong. So then they go into the win rates and deck usage rates, and they explain their philosophies and such. With Starforged Legends, they didn't really print any busted cards like they have. Wonderland Dreams was really bad, and what was it? It was Tempest of the Gods before that. Tempest was also really bad, and it started in Rise of Bahamut with Daria and Albert, and then Sybil and Ektar, then Spawn of the Abyss and Alice. You know, and it's come to the point where all these cards are now nerfed, some nerfed into the ground, like Spawn. And their philosophy has changed a little bit, but it's not changed so much that it makes me want to play the game any more than I do. Maybe it'll get better in the next expansion, especially with rotation. It'll be interesting to see. That is kind of what I'm waiting for at this point. Especially with the holidays. There's a lot going on, and this game is kind of wearing thin on me a little. I hope the rotation will, you know, pique my interest, and because I do love this game, I just wish that some more care were taken into certain aspects of it. So, with that said, those are your changes. I will link in the description below, and we'll get back into some gameplay this week and see how these changes affect certain decks. Especially like Staircase will be interesting to see. I also am very interested in how Dragon will be with a Sybil nerf, so I'll have to keep an eye on that. And like I said, with maintenance being tomorrow, I probably won't get to play tomorrow, so we'll play it on Wednesday. I'll put a video up then, and that's all for today then. Hope you all have a great day, take care, subscribe for more content in the future, and we'll see y'all later. Take care.